Excuse me?
I'm sorry, can this wait a minute?
No, it's very urgent.
It's just that I'm literally in the middle of eating.
I can see that, but
You don't want to annoy me.
I just need directions so I can get to...
Alright, gents, fire!
What? Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages, welcome one and all to this piece of concept art! That's right, I'm putting it right in your face that quickly so you can look at it while we talk about what it represents. This is one of the first pieces of concept art that was made for Monster Hunter Rise, and it truly is beautiful to look at once you've analyzed it. No, a translation of the text adds a little bit more context to it. What you're looking at here is a busy, bustling city full of hubbub and people trying to get on with their days. From light construction work happening to children playing in the streets. All obstacles that would get directly in the way of a hunter traveling on the ground, right? Right. But not one who can get, oh, I don't know, on the ridge to the left, or hell, why not even walk along the wall?
I'm Spider-Man.
Yes, as we know, hunters will have unparalleled verticality in this game, and as a result, an idea for a town like this is actually really cool. It's something that would be hard to represent normally in Monster Hunter games because the amount of foot traffic required to make it look genuinely this busy would make it really hard to get around, which is why this is sort of perfect for this game, especially when you notice that there is a giant tortoise monster walking down the road who takes up the entire width of the lane. But like, okay, hold the fuck up. A giant tortoise monster in the city? Oh, hell yeah, this is what I've been looking for, Capcom. You know what I want. First up, this creature looks as merry as Papa Santa Claus himself, and there's no way he isn't the friendliest thing you've ever seen, which leads to one of two things, because realistically, there are two ways to take this scene in front of us. The first one is a hunter just traversing a busy street, while a couple of distant figures direct a small monster sort of equivalent to how some villages use popo as workhorses. The second way is, well, the greatest threat the world has ever seen. A gigantic monster with no sense of care for other creatures, trying to Lao Shan Lung his way through a busy city street, trampling whatever lays in his path, leading to the raptor boys running scared in the streets, the town guards on the left rafters desperately trying to hold the creature back with some sort of bowgun, while the hunter arrives on the scene, draws their sword, and prepares to attack. You see what I mean? This could easily go either way, in my opinion. So maybe he's just a friendly small monster, or maybe he is an accidentally violent large monster. But regardless of his actual classification, in that sense what interests me more is his skeleton itself. He looks more like a tortoise than anything has ever looked like a tortoise in Monster Hunter before. Like, seriously, the size of the shell compared to the actual shape of his limbs and the head leads me to believe that he could actually retract inwards into it, which in my mind means that we could have hilarious and fun fight mechanics based around a monster spinning in the shell. But the important part is this is either an extremely uniquely shaped fanged beast, a quote-unquote amphibian, even though that wouldn't be necessarily accurate, or potentially even an entirely new skeleton in itself. I mean, why not? Creatures with shells on their backs aren't a new concept, and we've had quite a few in Monster Hunter games in the past under different categorizational names. So why not just say that there is a specific monster category for these back-shelled monsters like this? And in that same vein, even if this is a small monster, who is to say there isn't an even larger drome-type creature we could meet out in the field? That would be awesome! Hell, if we're lucky, it could even look potentially a little bit like this.
The suspense is killing me.
The Earth Dragon Desert Goblin, which is a monster from concept art made long before even Monster Hunter 1 existed. And oh man, I don't even have the slightest idea how it would feel to fight something like this, but the pure concept of its existence fills me with joy. Like, just knowing that they fully thought of and constructed this makes me happy, even if it is never in an actual Monster Hunter game. So this guy is just a giant, relatively docile, nomadic herbivore, as you can see by him eating a cactus. I do love that the one picture that we have of this creature includes him eating a snack. Just, that's the type of Monster Hunter detail that really catches my attention. So, nomadic, thick-shelled, desert turtle herbivore. That sounds like a pretty great life, right? Well, unfortunately, in the Monster Hunter world, there are some creatures that would consider something like this prey, even at its size. Things like a Daren Moran could absolutely annihilate him in a one-on-one fight in an extended combat situation. Except nothing against this guy is a one-on-one fight. No, he actually has an incredibly symbiotic relationship with humans. Yeah, there is quite literally a castle constructed on his back. Outer walls, inner fort, siege weaponry on the towers, the whole shebang. As a result, this roaming giant gains an offensive powerhouse of however many hundreds or thousands of people live up there with all of their weapons, and in return, this castle is one of the most impenetrable places on the planet. Think about it. A castle that is constantly moving, has permanent high ground.
Hello there.
And the ground that it sits on is also literally armored. This right here is peak monster design to me. I fucking love it. That said, as I mentioned, this concept art is so old that it is incredibly unlikely that we would ever see this creature actually appear in a game himself. Like, he was one of the monsters who they came up with when the series was originally supposed to be much more medieval feeling. So the whole idea of sieging a castle honestly doesn't feel particularly Monster Hunter-y to me anymore. But that doesn't mean that they couldn't use him as inspiration, taking bits and pieces about him that they love, even replacing the idea of a castle full of humans and siege weapons to maybe something like a Mealink's fort, manned by a feline tribe. Who knows? But I love the general idea of this guy, even down to the fact that he has this whole tail thing, which actually sort of reminds me of a pangolin. Oh no, my, I think I left the oven on and I think I left something inside of it and it must be burning and my entire house might be on fire. I'm not really looking forward to going back, but I have to go back. I'm so scared and worried about the whole situation. And that makes me wonder if we'll ever actually get a pangolin type monster, either as an offshoot of a fang beast, bear type monster, a brute wyvern type standing monster maybe, or maybe even this new skeleton I've been talking about today, this turtley skeleton with the inverted forelimbs. I could totally picture a pangolin tortoise hybrid who could either walk on 2 legs or 4 depending on the situation, like a mini fatalis without the fireballs. Actually, if you bring the fireballs back in, it reminds me of a certain other turtle creature named Zora Magdaros. He's an elder dragon, so he gets a bit of a break from the whole classification thing, as elder dragons just sort of are elder dragons. Some look like other classes, but that's just about it. That said, he is a little different than what I am talking about as well, given that he does not have the inverted forelimbs. He's more of a fanged wyvern-shaped giant turtle monster. In fact, there have been some confirmed official links between him and Lao Shan Lung, which I find extremely interesting. Back on topic then, there is one more tortoise monster without inverted forelimbs to bring up just because I care about him, and his name is Odi Badarasu from Frontier, sort of the third member of a trio with himself, a Cantor, and Eucanlos. But only having existed in Frontier, this giant sand turtle is exceedingly cool to look at, and is also a monster I could totally see coming into this game if we wind up with a sizable enough desert to go through. And then, of course, on the concept of monsters with shells on their backs, I do have to mention Tetranadon, one of our first new monsters for Monster Hunter Rise itself. And just honestly, guys, all of this just adds together to give me a ton of hope for the variety in monsters for Monster Hunter Rise as a whole. But let's take a step back. All of this conversation today, all of it stemmed from one piece of concept art. In fact, one of the earliest pieces of concept art in general for the game. And as with all concept art, it may not even be something that actually winds up reflecting what we see in the game itself at the end product. And this could just be a bunch of speculation about things that won't even exist. But it's fun to say what if, isn't it? Alright everyone, I've been Cotton Dinosaur, and this has been a little speculative discussion about turtly tortoisey monsters due to a piece of concept art for Monster Hunter Rise. Do you want to see this creature in the game? What other types of animals do you hope Monster Hunter brings into the forefront with new monster designs in the future? Like if you like the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, stay sweet. This is the brand new outro to tell you all the things that you do that we love, so let's start with something simple and say, oh, we love your eyes. When they're watching us play video games, when we make a bunch of jokes that are kinda lame, or when they gaze upon our failures as we try to kill the monsters or important news about the Kingdom Animalia. Rage, Cotton, and Hollow are all here, talking about the things you want to hear. So if you want to be the first to hear, like and subscribe and the bell and we'll cheer. Some of you are patrons even though we are all the noobs and you're the pros. There's nothing we can do to thank you. No, really, there's nothing we could possibly do. Goodbye.